Hey everyone, Jared here. So you're thinking about making a move to Orlando, and let me guess, everybody's telling you about sunshine, Disney World, low taxes, and Ron DeSantis, right? Well, today you're going to want to stick around because we're going to go behind the scenes of the tourist brochures and the puffery and all the excitement, which is, and truly is, Central Florida. On this video, I'm going to share insider information on what will make or break your Orlando experience. This is going to be all the things that I wish someone had told me before I had moved back into the Orlando area. My friends, we are covering everything from the explosive job market that's attracting people from all over the country to some of the neighborhoods that you've probably never heard of, but you absolutely should know about. And on top of all that, I've got some updates of what is happening right now in Orlando in 2025 that you absolutely have to know about. And trust me, my commitment to you is that by the end of this video, you'll know more about Orlando than most of the people who have lived here for years. It's irrefutable that Orlando is one of the fastest growing cities in the country. And it's not just me saying it. The US Census Bureau just released information in the past month making the claim that a lot of people are now starting to talk about Orlando in big ways, and we have to understand why. And no, it's not just the theme parks, even though there's some exciting updates on that I'm going to get to in just a moment. But the reason people are interested in Orlando is about opportunity. We're seeing massive growth in tech with companies like Lockheed Martin, EA Sports, and dozens of startups are eyeing Orlando and setting up shop right here. We also have big activity in the healthcare sector exploding too. Orlando Health and Advent Health are constantly expanding, creating thousands of high-paying jobs. Not just in medical, but in construction because they're constantly building new buildings. But here's the kicker you have to add on top of that is that we have no state income tax.
Are you serious?
So that job offer you're considering, you're going to be keeping more of your money than you would in most of the other popular metro areas. So why not live here? Case in point, I had a client just move here from New York. He's saving over $8,000 a year just on state income taxes alone. Now, another kicker of inbound relocators, especially from the Northeast, is that our property taxes are also significantly lower than many other states. So on top of that, you're taking a job offer, keeping more of your money, and then on top of that, your house has $8,000 to $10,000 less in property taxes per year, depending on where you're coming from. Now, additional to is that a lot of people who are interested lately in Florida are interested because of Ron DeSantis' recent remarks saying he wants to create a pathway to eliminate all property taxes for full-time primary ownership.
You just basically for subsisting and living on your own property, your own home, you got to just keep writing a check to the government just for the privilege of using your own property. And that's an anomaly. That's not the way good tax policy should be. It certainly undercuts the idea of private property that you own outside the reach of the government.
So he's floated this idea. There's not been a lot of details as to how this might happen or how it might be compensated for, but it has been floated as an idea possibly going into 2026. Now, the energy of those statements has obviously created a lot of interest in this through the state houses of Congress. So in Tallahassee, there are committees already in operation. There are already laws considering the idea of increasing the value of our current tax savings through the homestead exemption to save us even more money. But make no mistake, Florida's drumbeat right now is that property taxes will come down for primary residents. We'll have to see how much momentum that really gets. Hey, it's me interrupting myself. Are you looking to buy or sell? One call does it all, and you'll put 23 years of experience and nearly 4,000 satisfied home sales to work for you.
Jared Jones is the way to go. Call 706-5000.
Now, additional to economic reasons, there's also political and ideological reasons. People just feel like they want to be in Orlando because it aligns with who they are better than where they came from. I hear that a lot. Additional to that, with the new scholarships Florida's added in the past couple of years, people have options to have public school or to get the same per student compensation of around $7,000 to $8,000 in a scholarship back so they can put their kids in homeschool or even pay for a home-based private school education model for their children. So there's a lot more opportunities in education, not to mention we have some pretty great public schools and education models out there for us as well. Get this, what also makes Orlando exciting is that unlike other no-tax states, Orlando isn't just sprawling suburbs and farms. You want a downtown loft? We got that. Prefer a family-friendly master plan community? We got that too. We got plenty of options. Looking for that small town feel with big city amenities? I know just the neighborhoods. And my friends, the diversity here is incredible too. In one day, you can grab authentic Vietnamese pho on Colonial Drive or hit up a James Beard nominated restaurant downtown and then catch a sunset view of one of our dozens of lakes. All right, but let's talk about what daily life actually looks like here, because there's a big difference between vacation Orlando and hey, I live here Orlando. If you're coming from a major city, downtown Orlando might surprise you. It's compact but vibrant. You can walk to work, grab dinner, catch a Magic game, all without touching your car. You have beautiful downtown areas like Thornton Park, Lake Eola. These areas have great urban energy. Here I like to tell people you get a choice. Do you want high walkability or do you want peace? Usually you kind of side on one side or the other. But here's what's also unique about Orlando is you're 20 minutes from suburban paradise. You have communities like Winter Garden and Claremont and Windermere. They feel like small towns, but have world-class amenities. You literally get the best of both worlds. And can we talk about food for a second? Everyone expects some theme park turkey legs, but Orlando's restaurant scene is seriously underrated. We've got Michelin level dining downtown, incredible food along International Drive and off of Colonial, and some of the best barbecue and Southern comfort food that you'll find anywhere. And the outdoor lifestyle, this is where Orlando really shines. We have over 100 parks, countless lakes for kayaking and paddleboarding, and you could be at the beach in 1 hour. And I'm talking world-class beach choices. You could go the Atlantic or you go the Gulf Coast. Try doing that from most major cities anywhere else. And not only that, you have the northwest edge of Orange County, the South Lake County corridor at Mount Dora and North Apopka also in on this story. The Wild Oak mixed-use commercial shopping district is attracting a lot of interest as it starts to build itself out. You've got lots of construction opportunities right here off of Kelly Park Road, and North Apopka on its own is such a beautiful area to consider home. But let's talk about the numbers, because cost of living is where people either fall in love with Orlando or they get caught off guard. The median home price here, $450,000 for a single family in our metro, still significantly lower than Austin, Denver, and all of California. Our property taxes are reasonable too. You can expect to pay 1.1% times your purchase price equals your annual property tax. Divide that by 12 to figure out what your monthly cost is going to be. And if you homestead the property or add your homestead exemption, which you will do if you're a primary residence, you want to save even more money, you'll even be in a better spot there. But talking real estate, you can find condos downtown starting around $200,000. You can go to the luxury lakefront end of the market in areas like Windermere, and you're going to start around $1.3 to $1.5 million on up. You can have new construction in a single family starter home, think 1,300 to maybe 1,700 square feet in different areas, and you can expect to start in the $300,000 to $400,000 price points. Now for a home in the existing home market, think established neighborhoods, 1,300 to 1,600 square foot homes in that category, going to start somewhere in the 3s and 4s, depending on the area and the home criteria. For move-up category homes, this is going to be homes starting around 2,000 square feet with homes over 3,000 feet. You're going to find that property starting in the mid 400s, depending again on the house you pick and the location that it's in. In Florida too, you're going to want to consider HOAs because most newer communities and many of the older ones are going to have HOAs and associations to include pools and fitness centers and common area taxes and just a variety of things to take care of your neighborhood. Now you want to think of buying these things in bulk. So you and your neighbors are paying for these things together. In many cases, they cover things like internet and lawn care and things of that nature that you'd have to pay for individually anyways. You always want to weigh out, does it make sense? And I'm going to tell you, majority share, as I mentioned, of all inventory is in an association. So it's very tough to avoid it, and they have their upsides. I mean, many of the planned communities that include some association management, as long as they're not onerous, they typically look fantastic and they're maintaining their property values aggressively. I would say to expect to see association fees being around $30 a month to upwards of around $200 a month, most commonly throughout the area. And again, that's based on the level of offering of the community. Simply put, the more amenities you have, the more it's going to cost per month. Some other factors to consider is considering utility costs. So as a result of the summer heat, we end up running our air conditioners a little bit harder, and air conditioning ends up being one of the larger expenses for your power bill. Now, you add to that if you have a swimming pool pumps end up being ran for 8 hours a day during summer months. That is the longest period you will run them all year, because in the summer months, and it's hotter, you have to keep the water moving so it doesn't turn. As a result of all this, solar, as you can imagine, has a massive marketplace here in Central Florida, and you need to be careful when you end up buying a home with solar. When I help a buyer, we approach a home with solar, I'm going to be concerned with making sure whether or not that solar will be paid off at closing. Is there an existing balance? Also, how big is the solar plant? How old is it? How much time do we have left? And how much energy does it produce every month? If the family that I have moving in is going to consume a different level of electricity, we are going to want to understand what that cost will look like. So as you can imagine, reviewing utility expense history on the way in is valuable information. Now, for the rest of you, let's say you buy a house and it doesn't have solar. You are going to move in, and nearly the day after you do so, you're going to be solicited to buy a solar package. I am going to caution you, do not do it. Do not buy solar after you buy your house. And here's why. I'm not against solar, but you are moving into that house and you have no idea how much your actual consumption will be. Once you get into the house, once you have all of your planned updates finished, that is, if you're planning on changing the pool pump, upgrading the AC, any of those things that might possibly curb your electricity usage, and you actually have a known history, then and only then can you purchase solar and do it smart, because you really need to understand exactly what kind of system and how much usage you have so you can properly analyze if it makes financial sense. The worst thing that I see is that home sellers will call me to sell their house, and they did it this way. They bought before known history. So then they underinstalled a solar plant that did not cover their usage. So they have a bill for the solar plant they put on their house, and then they have a few $100s more for electricity on top of the solar plant. And that just confuses the new buyer. The new buyer comes in and thinks they're being hosed and they want the solar paid off. And in that case, you just paid for an upgrade that you really are going to have a hard time getting all the dollars back on. My recommendation: have a 6-month ownership history before you touch or consider purchasing solar. I know you got 3 Teslas and all this, and you got to figure it all out. Give it some time so that you can do it right. Now, let me talk about the most common mistakes that will make or break your Orlando experience. I know Orlando is sold as a dream come true, but I've talked to hundreds of people who have relocated here or have had relocations with some other agent and things went terribly wrong, and they want to sell and move somewhere else. Let me help you try and avoid that from happening. Mistake number 1 is finding the house first and picking location second. I've had it happen over again that people do not focus on location before finding a house. They want to start the process online from some other state, and they just look at houses online and they really fall in love with a house on the internet, and then don't do a ton of research about the area, or they don't pick an agent that can guide them through that process. And they're miserable when they actually figure out how the entire area is built out and how it's planned. A common expression of this is not understanding our traffic patterns. I-4, for instance, is constantly under construction. Different areas of town have very few alternative routes to get you where you need to go. If an area has a limitation of how many roads you can get to from where you're going, and you have a 20 or 30 minute baseline commute on a good day, things can get really bad really quick. And I know it's easy for a realtor to say, promote the local professional. I can help you understand the hot spots and the really bad spots. That is all true, but you also want to go and actually run these routes during rush hour and feel them before you contract on the house. Don't just trust Google Maps. And you really should start there. I'm all for running Google Maps on directions and actually setting your departure times and things of that nature, because it will help you understand a lot. But I'd also recommend driving it and seeing how the areas are laid out in advance, so you don't make a mistake that costs you hours and possibly days of time at the end of every year being on our roads. A next mistake is not doing enough research on the school districts, and Orlando schools can vary dramatically. Now, granted, some of the best public schools are here in the Orlando area, talking about Lake Nona High or Dr. Phillips or Winter Park High School, but school district boundaries don't always match neighborhood quality, so you have to do your homework. And we, as I mentioned earlier, have the upside of the Florida scholarship, so you have some choice on whether or not you're even going to decide to opt into public school. But a lot of times public schools themselves can lead your property value. So if you buy in an area with unpopular schools, when it comes time to resale, that can also become a factor to consider as well. With Florida, we have seasonal considerations. We have hurricane seasons. We have crazy thunderstorm volumes during the summertime. We have hot, humid.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
I mean, beautiful weather in the summertime. Honestly, we obviously know summer can be rough. And additionally, we don't always have the choice of when we can relocate somewhere. Sometimes our work's going to put the pressure on us. Moving in spring and fall obviously offers better weather and better moving deals. But on the flip side, moving in spring going into summer, you're actually going to have more homes to choose from than you will most likely in the fall, because a lot of people are going to take their houses off the market if they're there going into the holidays, or just wait until spring to put it on the market to begin with. But with all that, we have to talk about finding your perfect neighborhood. And this is where the magic happens, matching you with the right community. Because let's be honest, Orlando isn't just one place. It's a dozen of distinct neighborhoods, each with its own personality. So we could talk about Lake Nona. This is where you want to be if you want to work in healthcare, tech, or research. It's home to Medical City, the USTA National Campus, and some of the most forward-thinking residential developments in the country. It kind of feels like living in the future, honestly. Winter Garden is perfect if you want the small town feel, but excellent restaurants and weekends farmers markets. The historic downtown here is absolutely charming, and you're still only 20 minutes from downtown Orlando. Now, Horizon West on the south end of Winter Garden is where young families are flocking. You're thinking master plan community, A-rated schools, and amenities that'll make you feel like you're living in a resort most any neighborhood here. Communities like Windermere Trails and Hamlin are setting the standard for family living. Now, if luxury living is your priority, Dr. Phillips in Bay Hill offers some of the most prestigious addresses in Central Florida. We're talking golf course communities, lakefront estates, and proximity to world-class dining and shopping. And if you want that urban lifestyle, downtown Orlando and Thornton Park offers walkable living with a growing art scene, incredible restaurants, and that city energy that's been building over the past few years. But here's the bottom line. Orlando in 2025 is not even the Orlando of 5 years ago, and the locals will tell you that. We're experiencing this incredible transformation that's attracting people from all over the world, and frankly, it's going to only accelerate. But here's my biggest piece of advice. Don't try this from a distance. Orlando is just too diverse, too rapidly changing, and has too many hidden gems and pitfalls to navigate it alone. You need someone who lives and breathes Central Florida real estate and lifestyle, like me. So where do you begin? Well, if you're serious about making a move, let's start with a discovery call. We'll talk about your specific situation, your timeline, your must-haves, and even your deal breakers. With that, we'll create a customized relocation plan that takes all the guesswork out of this process. And again, this doesn't have to be overwhelming, and it should be exciting. When you're buying or selling a home, the process itself can feel overwhelming. When this happens, you need a real estate expert that can turn this around for you. So all you need to do, make one call, that's all, and put nearly 4,000 homes sold and my 23 years of experience to work for you.
Jared Jones is the way to go. Call 706-5000.
If you're in the Central Florida area and you're looking for a great church, I'd love for you to join me at the Grove Bible Chapel. Just visit joinmeatthegrove.com for full details.